Welcome to Better, Do Better, presented by RX Physical Therapy, where we talk to local healthcare and fitness professionals about all things injury, recovery, health, fitness, and training. This week on the podcast, I had Dan Bulay. He's one of the co-owners of the district in East Hanover. We had a great conversation about how he got into training, how the district came to be, and a lot about what the district is going to be. It was a great conversation, and I really hope you guys enjoy it. You guys have been getting busy.
Yeah, hot mess right now.
Yeah?
Oh, no, not really. It's definitely getting a lot better. A lot more streamlined, a lot easier. So obviously like work in progress stuff. I feel like you're never going to feel like, hey, everything's together.
Yeah, it's never going to feel perfect, right? Because as soon as it is, you're on to the next project.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. How's it over at what CrossFit studio? It's not Cedar Grove CrossFit anymore.
Yeah, it is.
It is Cedar Grove CrossFit. Okay.
Yeah, it's funky because the sign is different.
Yeah.
So it says Limitless on the sign, but it's CrossFit Cedar Grove. Gotcha.
Is that mostly just because of a permit thing?
It's mostly because I think changing the sign is 10 grand.
Okay. Well, that's understandable. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That gets expensive real quick.
Yeah, for sure. They were gonna change the sign on the lawn, but I don't know whatever happened to it. It's a long story. But before I was here, there was an occupational therapist that partnered with the gym owner, so they were Limitless Performance and Therapy, and then that dissolved. The CrossFit gym kind of took over, and whatever. So strange.
Well, I mean, it's those little things that start getting real expensive.
Yeah, exactly. All of a sudden, you're like, "What the hell? How did this all become?"
Yeah.
Whatever.
I mean, yeah, man. It's definitely like those are like little things. Like even Scott and I are looking at. It's just like we want signage outside, but even just like a small sign, like is starting. Just the sign itself, starting at like $1,200.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it gets expensive, and it's like, hey, we can allocate that money elsewhere, but obviously long term for branding purposes, just all of that marketing by itself, it adds value, but obviously gets real expensive real quick.
Yeah, for sure. And then you try to find little ways to make things like your own, like with the platforms that you guys put in. I'm sure you saved a ton of money by like making them yourselves.
I'm not gonna lie, that was a real pain in the ass to do. It was a whole ass project.
Yeah.
But it was fun. I'm happy that the way that it came out.
Yeah, they look really nice.
Thank you. It's just because of Instagram. That's all.
Filters do a ton of work, right?
No, I'm happy with how it came out, though. I will say, probably gonna have to change them out at some points, but that's not a today project.
No, well, you know what? They get some wear and tear, and that's kind of expected.
Yeah, kind of comes with the territory with gym equipment.
Yeah, exactly. Can you hear the music downstairs at all?
No, I actually didn't even know that.
Perfect. Good.
Oh, is that rack new now?
Yeah. So
nice.
I made a ton of, I'm just putting my phone on airplane mode. I made a bunch of changes in the office. So I got two tables now. And if you see like right there.
Yeah.
That's the anchor, like the.
How do you like that?
Dude, I love it. Have you ever used a Kaiser unit before?
Yeah.
So that is like the closest thing I've ever felt to a Kaiser.
Really?
That's not air pressure. And it's about 1/6 the price.
Yeah. So we were looking into that, but then when I kept seeing a lot of mixed reviews, between sometimes it kind of feels like it's similar to bands. Some people absolutely love it. Like Mike Boyle absolutely raves about it.
Love it.
You like it?
Love it.
Okay.
So if you want, when you have time, come down and try it out.
Yeah, absolutely. When are you a little more available, I guess?
Friday afternoons are like my only real availability.
Okay.
I've been like crazy busy, which is why I haven't gotten down to get a lift in.
I mean, awesome for you, but
yeah. Well, I hired a part-timer, and I wanted to get him in for like 10 hours a week. And he was like, right now I can give you 4 with the, jumping up to 8. He like just moved in with his girlfriend when he came on. And then the guy got offered a director role somewhere else. And so I'll have him until like the end of August. And, then I got to start all over again. So.
Oh man, that's tough. That's tough.
I felt it coming, and I was afraid of it. But the lesson is like, don't hire part-time. Like, I got to get
Yeah.
some full-time when I do this. So I'm
Yeah.
working on the marketing and the branding things and trying to generate more referrals so I can fill another schedule.
Yeah. Was he a PT, PTA?
Yeah, he's PT.
Okay.
Pretty knowledgeable guy. He's been around the block for a bit, 6 or 7 years. Like, he had some good experience.
Okay. Yeah, it's tough. Tough for that.
Yeah.
Gotta almost find somebody like straight out of college, stuff like.
Yeah, but then I got to mold them. It's like 6 to 1, half dozen the other, right? Because if it's fresh out of school, then I got to teach them how to be a therapist.
Yeah.
Right. But if there's someone who's been a therapist, I just have to teach them how to sell.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, here's the good thing, I guess, when you get somebody brand new, one, if you can train them up, then obviously there's the growing pains. But then from that perspective, it's almost like, all right, you can almost mold them into the way that you want your business to look.
Yeah.
So like, I almost prefer people who are super green, just because it's like, from my end at least, it's like, hey, like and I'm sure it's different for therapy, but like what I do, it's easier for me to teach than kind to try and change somebody's like perspective of how they've been doing it.
Yeah.
It's that give and take, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, part of the interview process was kind of stylistic.
Yeah.
Like, what are your influences? How do you view the body? How do you treat that kind of stuff?
Yeah. But
whatever.
So it's tough. Well, hopefully you find somebody soon.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. Fingers crossed.
Because that'll make your life a hell of a lot easier.
Man, yeah. It's been a wild ride. But I'm gonna give you a quick rundown of what we're gonna go through. This way you have a little bit of a perspective of like how the conversation will go, and then we'll just kind of from there. So basically I want to know a little bit about your origin story, a little bit about how the district came to be. We're going to talk a little bit about like what you're passionate about, who you like to work with, what's unique about what you do, how you do it. And I always like to ask, what's something that you wish people knew from or about the fitness industry or your profession?
Okay.
So we were talking about do you have questions about any of that stuff or?
No.
It'll kind of come out like in a flow kind of conversation. So I might not ask any of the questions directly.
But that's kind of the topics of conversation.
Yeah, exactly. So that'll be like the structure of things.
Okay, cool.
But we were talking about the platforms before. You've been getting a lot of Olympic lifting in. Are you gonna compete soon or what?
It's funny that you say that because I want to, but then I ended up maxing out my bench the other day just because for shits and giggles.
Right.
And I'm like, wow, I forgot how good this feels. Just have like a bar right over my chest with the idea I might die right now. And just pressing with everything I got. So I don't know. Like I'm in between. Like, hey, do I want to compete in powerlifting or do I want to try my hand at weightlifting for the first time finally?
Right. Well, if you're looking for danger, I feel like hitting a heavy snatch is just as jarring.
No, you're damn right. Actually, I don't know. I'm in between both. Might even get a little crazy. See how my shoulders hold up for a super total meet.
Oh yeah.
We'll see. I tried that for like a month and a half, 2 months, and that did not go great for, rotated cuff and everything.
What's the super total?
So it's squat, bench, deadlift, clean and jerk, and snatch.
Oh, buddy.
Yeah. And as a PT, shoulders aren't super happy in snatch when you're benching all the time.
That's the truth. I mean, you got to really be doing a ton of mobility work and,
Yeah, and they're almost counterintuitive. Like everything that's supposed to be stiff and tight during a bench press is everything that should be loose and limber for a clean and jerk and snatch. So
yeah, exactly. You almost benefit by not being super mobile for the powerlifting, and you need all the mobility for the Olympic lifting.
Yeah, it turns my workouts into like 4-hour workouts just from an hour and a half of mobility, prehab, rehab stuff.
Yeah. How'd you get into it?
Which one?
Either. Like, how did you start?
I started with powerlifting back in the day. Like when I first started personal training, one of my exes who I started dating, she competed in bodybuilding or bikini, and we ended up going to one of her expos. We got really close to all of these powerlifters at the bar who were also competing in powerlifting at that same expo, at the AC Expo. Not there's Angus, by the way. So we did that, got the idea of, maybe I should compete in powerlifting. A couple of my buddies were already doing it. So that's how I kind of dove into that. I started doing that back in 2000. When did I start training? probably 2016. I started
Okay.
powerlifting. Haven't competed since right before the pandemic, actually. So 2019 probably. And then yeah, actually no, probably started in 2015 powerlifting. And
Was
then
that when you
so
first? Good.
that's when I first competed, 2015,
Oh, okay. When did you first start picking up weights?
when I was 14. So actually about half my life now at this point. When I
Jeez.
was a sophomore in high school. And the big reason behind that was, look, I am right now, I'm 5'6" on a good day, maybe 5'5.5", 5'7" with the right shoes, but I like to call myself 5'6" because I hang somewhere in between. When I first was in high school, I played rugby, did all of that, 5 foot, maybe 100 pounds soaking wet. All my friends and we ended up going through puberty. They're all hitting 6 foot, 6 foot plus. This was my growth spurt, 5'6" maybe again. And I was maybe 100 pounds soaking wet. So, I played rugby. Obviously, 14-year-old boy wanted to get girls. Girls would always just pick me up because I was so skinny. Like, oh, you're so cute. And so, yeah, that wasn't awesome. Wasn't a great experience. So I started lifting, thinking, hey, that's going to help build my confidence. It's going to get girls getting their attention. Unfortunately, I got a lot more guys' attention, which at a point where it's like, hey, that's okay, but that's not exactly the market I was going for. But so that's how I got into lifting. Between one, wanting to have a little more confidence, just like I feel like most people do, and then two, just for the sport as well. You know, being
What
100
position do you
pounds,
play?
I was a winger
Ah,
and
so you're a
scrum
fast
half.
guy.
So I was fast, but if somebody caught my jersey, caught me, I wasn't breaking out of that tackle.
That's funny. I played in college.
Oh yeah.
I was a scrum half, and I
Okay.
was terrible. I was so bad. But I played. I had fun. I made a lot of friends.
It's fun when you're in college. It's like it's just you hit some people, you drink some beer right after.
That's pretty much what we did.
Yeah, yeah,
I was definitely better after the game than during the game.
yeah. You can take anyone down with a keg.
I've done it. But when did you
I mean, it's a
start?
fun sport.
It is fun. What do they
Yeah, it
say?
is.
It's a hooligans game played by gentlemen.
Yes. Yeah, because it's
Uh,
like, hey, like you knock some heads during the game, then you drink a beer with your opponents right after.
exactly. Shed some blood and then shed some beer.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
So when did you start personal training?
Back when I was a sophomore in high school, so probably about like 6 years or 5 years into my lifting career. Actually, I got into personal training by accident.
Okay.
So back in college, I was kind of jumping around majors. I started with, I was at Seton Hall doing biology track in their physical therapy program. Failed out of biology, so that didn't really go so well with my PT seat.
Right.
So I ended up losing my seat on that after failing bio. Ended up trying my hand at nursing. Transferred out of Seton Hall, went to William Patterson. Um, Tried to go nursing, but I didn't get into that program originally. So I was like, all right, you know what? I'm going to do exercise physiology. Their classes line up, so maybe I can eventually transfer into the program. Started really enjoying that. And I was at the time I was actually working at J. Crew, the
Oh
retail
yeah.
store. Yeah, so I started working there. My maybe general manager, assistant manager over there. He was also a former GM over at New York Sports Clubs. He ended up eventually leaving J. Crew to go back to New York Sports Clubs. He got an awesome offer. I hit him up one day. I'm like, hey, I need a gym membership. So let me see if I can get a front desk job. Hit him up. We'd always talk about fitness. So always talk about weightlifting, stuff like that. He knew I was an exercise physiology major, even though I was technically tracking for other stuff. It's like, why don't you come in? And I'm like, all right, awesome. I can get a tour of the gym. We can go through the interview. He started talking about personal training, just going into that. And next thing you know, I had a personal training job looking to get my certification. I'm like, what the fuck just happened here?
That's great though.
So am I allowed to curse on this? Do you care about that? Sorry.
I don't care. Yeah, you're
Okay,
all good.
okay. I realize whenever I go into something like this, I'm like, shit, I gotta watch that. But so that's how I got into personal training. I was over at New York Sports Clubs for about 3 years. 4 years actually doing personal training. I was an assistant fitness manager at one point, realized I hated that because it was over in just a less than ideal situation.
Mhm.
And yeah, just bounced around there.
And then how did the strength district come about?
Oh yeah, so that again, another accident. Another accident. So after I left New York sports clubs, I realized I'm like, all right, I don't really know what to do. Commercial gym settings, which I'm sure you noticed, it like, not I don't think they call it commercial physical therapy clinics, or like just like the run
We call them
mill
PT
style,
mills. Yeah.
yeah, PT mill style clinics. You know, you realize there's so much more that you could be doing than what they're offering, because obviously, like, at the end of the day, it's a business. And I get that. You're looking at the bottom dollar, you're looking at building the brand, building the business. But as a clinician or as a practitioner, like, and even as a fitness professional on my end, it's like you realize there's so much more that you can do. So I ended up leaving New York sports clubs, doing independent contracting work, doing some private personal training, doing all of that. Not really sure what I wanted to do. And in my last semester of college, we had to do a project, which was basically create a website, create a brand, and basically talk about who you are in the company. During that week, it was finals week, and we're doing all of this. Me and Neil, one of my other coaches on staff right now, he's been with me since like actually the very beginning of the strength district and now the district training facility.
Mhm.
He was with me for that, and we are just sitting in his car during finals, just breaking. Not going to talk about what we are doing,
Right, right, right.
that kind of stuff, but maybe not exactly the most legal stuff, but things decompress.
Okay.
But so, and we came up with the name, the strength district. And I'm like, I really like the way that flows. And so I ran with it, created the website, realized, wow, this is kind of cool. And then I'm like, all right, why don't we just create a company out of this?
Mhm.
Part of that reason was also because after college, I didn't have the best grades in college because I didn't really try as hard during the non-exercise physiology classes.
Right.
So
Spend a
a
lot of
lot
time
of,
relaxing.
yeah, relaxing. A lot more professional now these days, but back in college, not quite as much. So my transcripts didn't look great. My exercise physiology classes were all either B pluses, A's, but everything else was, C's get degrees.
That's the truth.
Right. But so a lot of companies weren't hiring. A lot of companies weren't hiring me, like the stable things like corporate personal training, corporate fitness, anything like that. They're looking for better education, anything like that. So decide to go the route of, all right, if no one's going to hire me, might as well just start a company, start a business.
Mhm.
So that's how we kind of fell into this.
That's awesome. Now you made a bit of a distinction between the strength district and the district training facility.
Yes. So after I guess 3 years into, and I guess it's interesting, the number three just keeps popping up, or with my fitness career. So after 3 years of working at the strength district, or working as the strength district in another, actually a few facilities. So I was doing independent contracting work out of there, just basically paying rents. The pandemic obviously hit. We shifted gears, went fully online when things opened up, went more of a hybrid approach because the online was actually going great. It was interesting. Like, I don't know why, but we scaled a lot faster while we were just doing everything strictly online than we were doing in person,
Mhm.
which was awesome. So that's why a lot of the approach that we're doing now is more of a hybrid methodology,
Okay.
where we're really good online, really good in person. So that's blend that together. But anyway, so 3 years after doing that, I ended up meeting Scott, and we worked both as independent contractors. Unfortunately, he never texted me back, so he's not hopping on this call right now.
That's okay.
But so when we hopped into that, we realized that a lot of our methodologies, a lot of our business models, and a lot of our overall values as business owners, and or I guess independent contractors at the time, and fitness professionals, they lined up really well, and they weren't exactly the same, but we realized a lot of the components of what we're really good at, the other is kind of lacking on. So I'd always kind of joke with them, like, I'm always looking for a personal or a physical therapist or an athletic trainer to hop on my team. Let me know when you're ready to dissolve Gunter Performance and hop onto the strength district.
Mhm.
So that was always the running joke for over the years as I started getting a little closer to him. We worked together for about 3 years within the gym that we were at beforehand. And then after the pandemic, he came to me with the idea. He's like, hey, like, I'm not going to hop on your team, but, you know, there are a few places that I'm looking at. Would you be interested in having a conversation of doing something together? We kind of joked about that a little bit. I'm like, all right, fine, whatever. I end up going on vacation. He ends up looking at a few other spots. We ended up finding one spot that we took a look at. We didn't like it. He ended up finding up another spot. When I came back from vacation, he was like, hey, let's take a look at this location. We ended up signing the letter of intent 3 days later.
Nice.
Yeah, so it kind of just happened really, really quickly. And again, almost seems like it happened by accident, where it just kind of fell in our lap.
Mm-hmm.
I've always said I want to open up a gym within 3 to 5 years at the time. I didn't expect it to be within 3 weeks. So
well, the location you guys landed in is awesome. It's so cool looking.
appreciate it. I mean, honestly, it was like a bare, like all whites. Nothing was in there. It was great because, like, since it was such a blank canvas, like, we went in there with the idea of, like, we can do whatever we want with this.
Yeah, and I think you guys really did a good job filling it out. It's like super functional, also kind of meathead, which and
Absolutely.
also meets like recovery.
Yeah.
So it's a really, really interesting blend.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Yeah,
Hey,
I mean,
whenever you're ready to have a conversation, if you ever like the CrossFit studio, you let us know.
I appreciate that, but there's a couple of people who've kind of asked me the same thing. I'll keep their names, out of it.
Yeah.
But I'm happy, man. I'm happy right now.
No, I mean, you have a great spot, and it sounds like you have a really good, I guess, relationship with the CrossFit gym.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun being here.
Yeah.
I've made a lot of really good relationships with a lot of the members. It's been a lot of fun. It's been a good location for me. The office I'm in is awesome.
I mean, it's great. It's private. I mean, honestly, we can't offer you that.
Yeah.
But hey, whenever bridges end up burning, you let me know when you're ready to have a conversation.
I appreciate that. But who would you find working out at the district? Like, who do you guys service?
So we have a nice little blend of the general population, people who are looking to lose weight, get a little stronger. We work a lot with performance-based athletes, barbell sport athletes. And I guess the big common theme that we kind of market towards, and even if, like, we kind of market towards those different populations, the values that we kind of serve are, hey, like, we want you to come in to work hard, but then also play hard. And I think that's the biggest thing about a facility is we call ourselves we're going towards a luxury garage style gym. But the biggest thing is, as a company, as a coaching service, our goal is to be a hybrid method of coaching backed by community, or a community-based hybrid method of coaching. There we go. That's our tagline. So, like, that's the big focus. It's like, hey, like, we want to make sure that whether your goal is to lose 20 pounds, if it's to add 100 kilos to your total, if it is to shave time down on your 40, or just simply become an overall better athlete, our goal is, hey, we want people who are generally just good people, but then also want to work hard. Because, it's kind of like the saying, like, one bad apple ruins the bunch. If there's one person who doesn't really fit the community, fit the values, fit just our overall core values, then it's just going to devalue the overall facility. And so that's what we kind of look for, and the people that we end up servicing.
That's pretty cool. You guys have created a bit of a hive mind.
Yeah. It's with the idea, like, hey, if one person wins, we all win.
Yeah, exactly. And you got to love that. And I'm sure that the people that are in the gym love that as well. Like, they can turn to you or any of the other coaches, ask a question, get some help, get a benefit from your experience, your knowledge, and, have their outcomes be improved because of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's I guess, like, speaking on, like, talking to each, I guess, different coach, that's kind of like when we're looking for our team or building a team, and just, like, kind of the values that we have. It was all centered around, hey, like, everybody should be speaking relatively the same language. We should have the same values, but at the same time, the biggest value is that everyone has different experiences, and they can speak the language in a different way, so that it can maybe, like, get through to a different person.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you bring that up, because one of the themes that I'm starting to see in the powerlifting community is the introduction of a lot of like functional training on the accessory side. And I
Mhm.
think one of the things that you guys do really well is blend the functional training with powerlifting and some Olympic weightlifting all into this unique pot for like a pretty cool product. Uh,
Yeah,
can you like talk on
appreciate
that
that.
a little bit?
I guess the big thing that I guess Scott says this really well. It's like, hey, we don't want you just to feel like a really good athlete, really good powerlifter, really good, I guess, Gen Pop clientele. We want you to also feel like a really good human in the sense of, hey, like, it's awesome to lift 600 pounds off the ground, bench 300, anything like that. But it kind of sucks when at the same time, you're 90% of the rest of your day in pain. The big focus that we kind of think about is like, hey, like one, longevity, and then two, just feeling good as well. I feel like most people, if like they can enjoy what they can avoid pain, they can feel like, hey, like I'm not hurting and I don't hate what I'm doing, they're going to stay in the game a whole lot longer.
That's so true. When I evaluate people, I always try to get a little bit beyond my shoulder hurts and kind of understand like why is it important for them to be out of shoulder pain, right?
Yeah.
And when it comes down to it, like most of the time people are in the gym for one of two reasons, and it's usually both. One, they want to look good naked, and
You're
two,
damn right.
that's true. Um, they always get a little a little shy when I say it because they think of it as like vanity, but it's not. You want to feel
Yeah.
good in your skin. And then the other is they want to be able to get off the floor when they're 80.
Yeah.
So paying attention to those details now is going to make such a huge difference with people's longevity. I was having a conversation with somebody on the podcast, Becky Cody. The episode actually came out this week, so
Okay.
now
I'll have to
people are
go
going to
check
know
that
when.
bad boy out.
Yeah, they'll know when we're actually having this conversation. But one of the things that we talked about was kettlebell training making its way into the mainstream, and how women are starting to pick up weights a lot more frequently. So I'm really curious to see if we start to see decreases in the rates of osteoporosis in women as they get into like older ages. But I'm
Yeah.
also curious with, as like fitness has seemed to become a lot more mainstream in functional training and powerlifting and Olympic
Thank
weightlifting.
God for TikTok, right?
Yeah, really. But I'm
Honestly.
curious if we're going to see like less falls, less hip fractures, and like more active adults later into their life because of a lot of the things that people like you, myself, and a lot of other people who have been on the podcast are pushing for right now.
Yeah. I mean, you can only hope so. It's always hard to tell. It's always hard to say. But obviously, like you can only hope that's the case because you do definitely see a much bigger population of young adults just doing it. And I think part of it is it's coming back to the idea of social media is uh, good and bad from the sense of, hey, one, it could create this self-conscious nature of like, hey, why are people getting into the gym? Why are people doing this? But then at the same time, it's like, hey, this may not be the worst thing in the world if this is like their addiction.
Mm-hmm.
If this is a thing that they kind of center a lot of their life around, it's something that can be relatively healthy when doing it properly.
Yeah, and
But
good.
oh no, I was going to say, and I'm just like, it's interesting that you do say, obviously, like, hey, you're probably going to see a lot of these other issues because when we talk to older adults, especially with our population, those are always things that we bring up. Sense of, hey, they have osteoporosis. Probably should start lifting weights instead of just taking calcium.
Yeah, it's so true. I I have a couple of older patients right now, and we do some stuff that's, weightlifting specific. We want to get them strong, and they're always kind of amazed at how much better they feel once they start getting strong.
Yeah.
It's a pretty neat thing. I'm happy to see it. I'm happy to do it. And like, the positive impact it makes on people's lives is pretty astounding.
Yeah. Yeah. Honestly, a little more muscle tone makes it a hell of a lot easier to move against gravity.
Yeah, that's the truth, man.
Yeah.
So what would you say your biggest like passion is as a coach or a business owner or anything like that within the fitness realm?
is it a cop out to say just like helping people? Um, like I guess like for me, like it's always been centered around wanting to help somebody else, like whether like whatever job it was, like starting from J Crew, it was like, hey, I just wanted to help people, like as a sales associate, help people look good in their clothes and feel good in their clothes. Like that was one of the most rewarding things when somebody would walk out of the fitting room and be like, yo, I like this outfit. This looks good. Or like they're checking themselves out, anything like that. As a business owner now, and even personal trainer, like one of the most rewarding things is always seeing people like how excited they get when I have like, I guess the first person I think off the top of my head is like this one 16 going on 17-year-old kid who I've been working on and off with for almost like 6 years. I've been working with like their whole family since like I started at New York Sports Clubs back in the day. Eventually got him in the door. He was this tiny, pudgy little kid. Maybe it drives me nuts because now he's almost 6 foot. And when I first started working with him, he was pushing 5 foot. And I was like, oh, just what's up, bud? And then now he's like looking down at me and I'm like, ah, fuck you, man. But but it's awesome to see like he went from this kind of like you can see like the difference in his overall confidence, the way he walks into the door, the way he talks about like how school was that day. Like he used to talk about like, it'd be really nice to have a girlfriend or even just like have friends. And now he won't get off his phone, which is, borderline a little annoying when I'm like, dude, do your set. To it's awesome to see that like he has like this big group of friends. He's always talking about different girls that he's like talking to or dating, anything like that. And he's just like flexing in the mirror, like with his biceps. And it's just, even though like that can be looked at from the outside looking in as a little vain, it's so rewarding to see like the transformation, not just like his physique, but like the personality that he has now.
Yeah, I'm sure the confidence and the self-esteem that he's been able to develop has been incredible.
Yeah, it's awesome. Honestly, it's awesome. But then I guess like from a business standpoint, so before I actually opened up the district, and I think you also worked with somebody similar, but I worked with a business mentor to help me kind of understand how to actually work on the business side of things. I knew how to train, knew how to talk about nutrition, knew how to talk about all of that, but the business was kind of stalling. So I ended up hiring somebody on that end to help me out with that. She was awesome. Ended up having such a good experience. I asked her, I'm like, hey, like, how can I do this for others? So I ended up working with her, and it was so rewarding to watch the people that I was helping out with. I was basically like her assistant coach on the team. She called me a client success director. But anyway, like it was so rewarding to see, like, even though like there are people passing like my numbers in terms of revenue, in terms of business, it was awesome to watch, like, hey, like, us talking 6 months ago to now, you can basically, I had a couple of people also open up their own gym because they're able to make enough money online, which is kind of the situation that I got into.
That's such a cool thing though. Like when you can help people achieve their goals, it's like, it's a special feeling. And I don't know that a lot of people have been able to experience that, like helping somebody to such a point where they achieved this goal that they felt was unattainable, completely impossible. And then all of a sudden they're at the top of the mountain looking back at the trail saying, oh, that wasn't so bad.
Yeah, I'm sure like you see it all the time, especially with your patients, like people who may have not been able to walk for a couple months or like lift something overhead or just even do like daily activities pain free. It's just such a good feeling seeing how excited other people are.
Yeah, it's special. It's special. And I feel like it's so important on that first conversation to understand like what the actual goals are, like taking your time on day one to understand what this person is trying to achieve. Like that, spending that time front loaded on that first day is going to improve the outcomes so much. And it's like, it's awesome when you can like draw the roadmap and put X exactly where they want it and say, okay, if we're going to get to here, we have to go this way, make a right, go this way, and these are the steps that you're going to have to take, draw it out for them. And they say, okay, I understand the plan. Like I'm going to work the plan. And then all of a sudden in a couple of weeks or a couple of months, they're there. And it's just, it's cool to see them actually achieve it.
Yeah, it's exciting. I mean, some people, especially during like those first initial consultations, assessments, they get a little annoyed when you keep asking why. But it's so important to go through like, I forget what they call it in marketing and business, the 7 levels of why or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But basically just asking the why behind the why behind the why behind the why is just so important to help somebody really get that clear cut understanding and vision. Because when you can kind of future pace somebody's goals, which just makes it so much easier and rewarding on that end.
Yeah, exactly. And then everyone's on the same page. You know why you're doing the things that
Yeah.
you can speak the same language, like you were saying before. There's that cohesiveness in the messaging and the conversation and the planning.
Yeah, absolutely. And it makes it like, again, a lot of these goals that people go through, whether it's like be pain free, lose the weight, get stronger, half the time it kind of sucks going through the journey. It's not usually it's not easy, but when you can see the reason and rationale behind the why, it makes it so much easier for somebody.
Yeah, exactly. That discipline is more important than motivation. That's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what's something that you wish everybody knew about or from, your life as a personal trainer or as a business owner or a performance coach, or just from the fitness industry in general?
Ooh. I know you told me this question was going to come up, but now I can't remember what my answer was. It was something along the lines of like, hey, like, from my profession, like, I guess like one thing I really do wish a lot of people understood was, you don't have to always go 100 miles an hour to make really good progress. Consistency is key. And as corny as that sounds is, it's a hell of a lot easier to go for a really long time if you're going 50, 60 miles an hour than going 100 miles an hour for 100 yards at a time and then stopping for a extended amount of time. I don't know. This must sound a lot cooler in my head, but something along the lines of consistency is key.
Yeah, no, I get what you mean. What do they say? The journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step.
Yeah. I mean, and I guess the other thing is just like keep it simple. Like, what is that saying? KISS. Keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah.
You don't have to get super creative. You see a lot of shit on TikTok and social media, which is awesome to see sometimes. But a lot of gains can be done with 80% of the work can be done with 20% of what you really need.
That's so true. What are some of the tools that you use to help with people's consistency?
So kind of coming back to like that community centered approach, and with us being a little bit more of a hybrid method of coaching, I think one big issue that a lot of personal trainers or at least a lot of personal training companies have is that trading hours for dollars kind of mentality. And hey, like when you come in, that's the time that we talk. Maybe I see you 3 times a week, those 3 hours a week that we're done after that. I'll see you next session. The big focus that we have is plugging people into the community that's, hey, obviously we reach out a lot more than I feel like most other trainers would, but plugging people into a community where it's like, hey, if they have a certain goal, there are people who are going to be around them that have already achieved where they're trying to get to, and there are people behind them who are trying to get to where they currently are. So having that level of, one, I'm trying to reach and strive towards somebody a little bit better than me at what I'm looking to do. And then also 2, setting the expectation that they're the example for the person who's trying to get to where they want to. I feel like that really creates that level of consistency because, 9 out of 10 people like to help somebody else because it makes them feel good. If they can kind of feel like, hey, I'm an inspiration to somebody else, it makes them work a little bit harder. Same thing with if they see somebody who is an inspiration to them, they're going to work a little harder to get to where they are.
I love that. I think that's so cool. Dan, I want to say thank you so much for coming on today.
Charles, man, thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. For anyone who wants to learn a little bit more about the district, how to work with you, how to get into the district, where can they find you guys? How can they get in contact with you?
They can find us. Well, oh man, this might be bad because we're trying to change our website soon. But currently, it's district-training, just spelled as is.com. You can find any of our coaches with the name TSD at the end of it. So my Instagram handle is dan.tsd. So you guys can find us over there.
Awesome. Is there an email, phone number, anything?
Yeah, you can call me at, I'm not going to give my cell phone number because I don't know any of you, but I'd love for you guys to chat with me. So let me get my the business number real quick. It is 973. You can call us at 973-671-4047. And then you can email me at daniel@thestrengthdistrict.com, just spelled as is.
Awesome, Dan. Thank you so much. I appreciate you coming on, and hopefully we get to chat soon.
Charles, man, thank you for having me. Hopefully we'll get you on our podcast once we finish everything else.
I would love that. We'll talk soon.
All right, man.